Hi everyone, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be learning how to make this simple shift dress with very large pockets. So let's get started. Now, as usual, I'd like to work with pattern papers for clarity of the tutorial. So I have my already folded pattern paper here. I had to join with masking tape to give me this size. So automatically the top part is going to be my shoulder line. Then from that point, I'll be adding 2 inches to half of my armhole circumference, which is my chest line. So normally if your chest line was 9 inches, that's shoulder to chest line, just add extra 2 inches. That'll give you 11. So this is going to be my chest line now. Okay. Then, of course, the lower part is going to be the hemline. So I'm just labeling the lines, shoulder, chest, and of course the lower part of the dress. You can increase the length if you want to, okay? Now, on the shoulder line, I'll be marking half of my across back measurements. Then, because the sleeve is cut together, you will also mark the length of the sleeve you want to work with, okay? Now, I'll be marking 9 or 10 inches. And I'll be adding a little twist to this tutorial. I'll be adding a little cuff to my own sleeve. Okay, so now that I've marked that, on the chest line, I'll be marking quarter of my hip circumference, which is the largest circumference of my body, and same thing on the hemline. Okay, so next thing is to connect the points together. I'll be connecting chest and hemline together like so. Then, of course, the distance from the sleeve opening to the center back, I'll be marking the same thing on the chest line. Okay, so I'll be having like a rectangle. So I'll just extend the chest line like so, and then I'll connect this. Then I can use my pattern master to connect the armhole curve. Okay, from the chest line, if you want, you could actually come up by 1 inch to raise the armhole opening, but it's not necessary. Okay, I'll just stick to the original chest line measurements that we marked. So I'll just use my pattern master like so to create the curve of the armhole, and then I'll just draw a straight line like this. So this is going to be my sleeve opening, okay, here. So I could just adjust the curve like that. Meanwhile, I'm going to be using this pattern to cut both the front and the back. Now if you look at the style very well, you will notice that one side of the dress is a bit fuller than the other side. Okay, so let me quickly tap my neckline. For the back neckline, I'll be doing 1 inch depth, and then width I'll be doing 3.5 inch or 3 inch, whichever you want. Then with my French curve, I'm going to create the neckline for the back. Then I will still mark the measurement for the front, because we're going to be using the same pattern paper to cut both front and back. Now, for the front, I'll be doing 4 inch or 3.5 inch for my neck depth, but the neck width is still going to be the same thing. So using my French curve, okay, or you could also use your pattern master, okay, to draw the neckline. So the higher one is the back, the lower one is the front, okay? So now I'm going to use my tracing wheel to trace out this side of the marking so that it can reflect on the other side of my pattern paper. Okay, so I'll just do that now and then show us. Okay, so this is it. Okay, this was how the paper was before. Then I used my tracing wheel to trace out here so that I can reflect on the other side, and I've used my marker to also trace out. This is it. Okay, now looking at the design critically, you will notice that one side is a bit fuller, so I'll be picking this side of the dress here. So I'll just extend from my hemline. I'll be adding extra 4 or 5 inches depending on how much you want it to be full, but I'll just do 4. Okay, same thing, I'm going to go up towards the midway between the chest and hemline. I'll mark the same thing. Then with my pattern master, I'll just connect it like this, and then I'll say extend it upwards and use the curve part of my ruler to link it back to the sleeve opening like this. Meanwhile, do not forget, you can extend your length of sleeve if you want to, but I'm still going to be adding a cuff to mine. Okay, so let me just extend the length of the sleeve if you want to, like I said. Okay, so automatically the right hand side is wider than the left hand side. This is how it's going to be. Okay, so on fold, you can see that one side is wider than the other one. Okay, so I'll go ahead and transfer this to my fabric. I will first of all start with the back pattern, and I'll add 1 inch seam allowance to the side seam. Then for the neck, first thing, I'm going to cut out this excess. When I'm cutting on fabric, I'll be adding 1/2 inch seam allowance to the neckline and the shoulder slants. Okay, and then when I want to cut the front, I'll just cut out the front neckline, that's all. Okay, so and then when you're cutting on your fabric, you open the pattern, don't cut on fold, because one side is long and wider than the other side. Okay, the dress is not symmetrical. Now this is the back pattern. You can see my neckline. Okay, and then I've also cut out facing. I'll be showing you that later. Now I'm cutting out the front neckline with the same pattern. Okay, you don't need to waste paper to do that. So for the front, the same thing. Make sure the pattern is open when you're cutting it, and then you add a seam allowance to the front. Okay, so I said we're going to be adding facing to this. Yeah, so the facing is a shorter version of your dress. So this is the facing for my front. You can see that it's quite long beyond my chest line. Same thing for the back. Yeah, I'm also going to be adding the facing. If your facing is too small, it will tend to be coming out. Okay, so this is a back facing here. So I'll go ahead and turn the neckline of my clothes. And then one more thing, we're also going to be making a pocket for this dress. So the length is about 13 by 9 inches, and I've already folded in the seam allowances, okay, up and down. And then for this particular part, I'll first of all go and stitch down the upper part down. Okay, but that'll be later. Let's go back to the dress. Okay, so first thing first, I'll be turning the neckline of the front, okay, with the facing 1/2 inch. Then the front has a slight opening in front, also known as a keyhole neckline. So now what you're going to do is the facing, you would have to press it so that there'll be a natural fold. So I'm going to be sewing like this, and then I'll sew also from the other side. Then you can see the natural fold because of the ironing. Okay, then you're also going to be sewing on that line, like 1/2 inch away from that fold on both sides, or preferably you can use your chalk. Okay, so I'll be coming down by about, say, 4 inches from the main neckline. Okay, so in total, the total depth of the neckline is going to like 7 or 8 inches, because initially the first one is 4. Now we're extending it downwards. Okay, so you're going to sew all the way like that, come in like a slight V, go back and upwards that way. Okay, so make sure you pin it down. And then I also forgot to mention that you should add interfacing, yes, or else it will not stay well on the neck, I mean the neckline, because of this opening. So you can see my sewing line like that. Okay, then make sure you add interfacing on the main dress. Okay, or else after opening up the keyhole, it will not be firm. Okay, so I'll just notch this like so. Then you just clip the curved edges so that by the time you flip over, it will lie flat. And mind you, pressing is very, very key in achieving a perfectly sewn garment. So you would have to go ahead to the pressing iron and then press flat all the seams, the allowances and everything, so that your garments can come out really nice. Okay, so you can see that we're having a fold because I've not notched the edge of the seam properly. So I'll just notch this well, And once you do that, it's gonna lie flat. Okay, so I'm done turning the neckline, both the front and back with the facing. Okay, so this is the back, quite straightforward. I'm gonna flip it over like so. Yeah, so you can see the back piece, both facing and the dress. Okay, like I said, make sure you give it a very good press. Now this is the back. I'll also lay the front on the opposite side. Okay, so you can see the neckline are facing each other. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and turn the shoulder. So what I'll do is I'll pick the facing on the back and the facing on the front together, pin it where the shoulder meets, then I'll go ahead and sew with 1/2 inch round from here, like so. I'll be sewing 1/2 inch round there, and same thing on the other side. Okay, so after in the shoulder, next thing is to position the pockets and make sure you leave your seam allowance for the hemline and the side seam. And you must have stitched down the pockets like so before going ahead to sew the side seam. Okay, pocket fixed here. Now we are going to be creating a casing for our rope, to be able to create the ruching effect. So what you do is from the shoulder line, you come down by 16 inches, which is my own half length. You can find your own half length from the shoulder. Okay, so my own half length is 16 inches. I will just mark that point. Then so from here to here is my 16 inches mark. Then you just leave about 2 inches away from the center front. That's where we're going to be positioning our casing for the ruching. Okay, same thing on the side, and then make sure you create a notch so that everything will be placed properly. Now this is the casing for my ruching. This is about 1 inch, and then you fold half inch on both sides with your pressing iron, please. So I'll just pick one side of the casing. I'll be sewing it down on the right side of my dress. Okay, then you must have created your rope. You can just use your chalk to draw a line so that it will be like a guideline for you, and then the casing will be properly erected or sewn. Let me put it that way. Okay, so I've sewn that so it will be close, towards the other side like that. Then this is your rope. You're going to put your rope like so, fold in your casing, then fold it the other way around towards the hemline, and then stitch down. But be very careful not to stitch down the rope. Okay, you're only stitching down the casing. So as you're sewing, make sure you move the rope inwards. You're sewing the casing and not the rope. Okay, so and then towards the end here, make sure you just do a slight rolled hem here before you complete the stitch at the end part here. Okay, so here, this is it. You can see what I've just done. You do the same thing for the back. It's the same process. Okay, that's the ruching effect. Okay, so now moving on to the sleeve opening. I said I want to be adding a cuff to my own sleeve opening. So I have prepared my cuff. It's about 2.5 inches the width, and the length is definitely the length of the sleeve opening. Okay, so I will just attach the cuff like so to the sleeve opening, and then same thing on the other side. Oh, good. So here we are. I'll just cut off the little excess I have on this side. Okay, so next step will be to go ahead and sew my side seam, starting from the sleeve, 1 inch all the way down. Please do not forget to add your seam allowance when you're transferring on the fabric. Okay, here. Make sure you press every step of the way. It's very important, okay? Then I'll go ahead and do the hemming for the dress, and that's all. So let me just show the final outcome. This is the final outcome of the dress. So lovely, so creative, so trendy and cheeky. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you do, please give this video a thumbs up and leave your comments. Thank you and bye for watching.